Welcome back to the Professional Lovers channel. I'm Al.
And I'm Patty. And by now you know that we are the
Professional Lovers.
We're glad to be here. A little late, but that's okay. We never let things stand in the way of getting to you once a week. Whatever day we end up posting it. But we're glad that you're here because, of course, we've got another episode to talk about. This is where we talk about relationship issues as we watch couples on Married at First Sight start to build their relationships. And so we think it's a great way to talk about issues that if you are married,
Thinking about it,
engaged, that these would benefit, the discussion would benefit you, hopefully.
definitely.
That's our goal. So let's get started. Now, it's going to start seeming like we talk about the same things over and over and over when we probably do. Because so far in the last couple of weeks, the couples have been dealing with the same issues over and over and over again. But at least this time, the whole theme of the night was getting to know their past lives, how they grew up, what their home life was like, what kind of things they were into. And surprisingly, Virginia was a pretty good basketball player.
Yeah.
Which is just right down his alley as a former
coach.
Women's basketball coach and everything.
Surprise.
Yeah, so Virginia and Eric, that's who we're going to start out with because that's who they started out with last night. So Virginia went to Eric's home. And I think even though his parents weren't there, he showed her where he grew up. And it made her kind of teary.
Yeah.
Because she felt like
she was putting in the effort to get to know
his side of the family.
Right.
And he was doing very little to reciprocate by getting to know her side of the family. And even though her side is split and, her parents went through a divorce and all of that, it still would, family is still important to her.
Very much so. I mean, that's important to anybody.
And once again, Eric talks a good game about family being important and taking time with family, but he was not supporting his lip service.
There you go. Yeah, he was not acting on what he says is important.
So he eventually reached out to her dad to give a complimentary call.
And Dad gave him a little insight into understanding, in basically reinforcing exactly the actions that he has been observing of Virginia.
Yeah.
She's very hard at trusting because she's never had things be stable in her life in the past.
And Dad admitted that.
Yeah, and he definitely reinforced that, knowing that he and his original wife was not the example of a marriage that he would want for his daughter. So he understood the type of individual that she was. And I mean, thinking about, him showing her when they went to his house, all of his pictures and little league stuff and growing up and mom and dad being there and, basically the yellow ribbon around the white picket fence and the old oak tree and all of that. Whereas
she didn't have that.
Her senior night of her high school basketball athletic program, she didn't have either one of her parents there.
Yeah.
She had her siblings, which, again, she appreciated, but it's nothing like having your mom and dad support you.
Exactly. What did you think about her statement when the two of them were talking, when she said that she wants to want Eric but not need him? He was saying, I want you to need me.
Yeah.
And she was like, but I want to want you, but I don't want to need you.
Yeah. Well, that's like love. You grow and you work toward it. Eventually, if you establish a relationship in which you want to be with someone to the point where you don't want to be separated from them, you will gain a need for that relationship to exist and continue to grow. So thinking about her statement is exactly what she's about. I mean, she doesn't, right now, at her stage in her life, she doesn't want to need anybody because anybody that she has needed has not been reliable.
Right. And that's really what I think she struggles against with this idea of Eric wanting her to be in a relationship, a marriage relationship that is quote unquote normal. Like you're together, you check in, you
express commitment toward one another.
You want to be with each other all the time. And that's not to say that that's what every marriage does. But the marriage relationship is supposed to get to a point where your spouse is your number one
priority
under God, your number one human priority.
Sure.
And she's not there because she's never seen it and she's never really experienced it.
Yeah, so she doesn't know that it true. I mean, she knows it exists, but what's the secret? Because she is not familiar with whatever that secret
and
is.
It's interesting because she ended with Dr. Pepper talking about how she wants them to define their own marriage that's not defined by other people's marriages. Yeah. But she can't understand that there are certain things that go along with marriage, period.
Just like anything, there are fundamentals.
Right. And that's what Eric keeps trying to tell her, but she can't hear that.
Well, and he's not necessarily explaining it that way. Because
yeah, but she doesn't even hear it with Dr. Pepper. She didn't hear it with Pastor Cal. And she didn't hear it with her own sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, yeah, true.
Who all three said some of the things that she says is like, that's not really
but again,
a marriage way of looking at it.
Well, again, in her defense, which we've heard her hear on occasion, I'm done with it.
Yeah, and that's the issue that he has.
That is just not reinforcement language.
No, it's not.
Whenever there's a situation
it's push away language.
Exactly, where he's trying to express his passion for a particular element or standard that he thinks is required for a marriage relationship. If she doesn't comprehend it, he doesn't sound like he's being patient at all in allowing her to understand what that means and basically to show her, because again, she's never seen it, she's never experienced it, so she needs something to hold on to see, observe, feel that sounds stable. He talks, I'm here, you can lean on me, I want you to lean on me, I need you to lean on me,
but if you don't lean on me, I'm done. Yeah, so they're going to keep having that little struggle there until it breaks through. Yeah, well, whomever it breaks through to first.
Or breaks down.
Yeah, and we hope that doesn't happen. Brianna and Vincent. Her health and family was the number one issue with them, as in for him, family is hugely important. Yeah. Having his own children is hugely important.
He's put a lot of emphasis on, again, something that he felt he has been deprived of.
Right. And that was once she found out about some of his background, how poor they were, how he was kind of raised by his grandmother, right? Yep. So he didn't have his parents. And so family, being able to have his own family and be the father that he didn't have is very important. But then Brianna shared that, she has high blood pressure, which can be very dangerous in pregnancy. I developed pregnancy-induced high blood pressure. So I know that even though I don't have high blood pressure normally, I can't imagine what that could be like for someone like her who does have high blood pressure.
Even you not having high blood pressure and having it when you
That's what I'm saying.
had labor,
yeah,
it was a concern for the medical team.
Yeah, it was, because I could have easily stroked out. Thank goodness I didn't. Yeah. But so it was
it's
kind of
a legitimate concern.
It is, and I felt like he wasn't showing a lot of, or demonstrating a lot of empathy.
Well,
with that,
it's similar to his understanding of family. Things that he wants, things that he, desires. He hasn't researched and found out exactly what it entails, how to go about doing it, how to ensure that once you do it, it's a stable, and it's not just, it's not just having it and it's poof, it's there. Mm-hmm. It's something that you have to work at. And in finding out, which I appreciate him, at least saying he was willing, that he wanted to get more information and understanding what that was about, either that or the potential of adoption, which is something that he never thought of.
And doesn't really want. And we kind of talked about that. We talked about that because...
Well, I felt the same way.
Yeah, you didn't really
similar.
want adoption either. Yeah. And that was a consideration for us because, it was a little scary with my pregnancy. And we were older. Mm-hmm. And, it wasn't easy for me to get pregnant. So I did think about the possibility of adoption.
And we discussed
it. But I backed off of it because you weren't interested, really.
Well, I had my concerns.
Reservations.
And again, being an only child, I didn't have a whole lot of other considerations to look at, or, personalities and so on and so forth. So it was just a matter of, what if we got a bad seed?
Well.
But that's where I was at.
Yeah.
And everybody has their reasons for doing or not doing.
So we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they will get to come to an understanding.
Yeah. And find out how they can do it.
Yeah. So we hope that, as she kept saying, I hope this is not a deal breaker. And we hope that that's not a deal breaker too.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think it will be.
Clara and Ryan. Ryan visited with Clara's mom first, just the two of them. Mm-hmm. And then they went to Clara's home. And their ongoing saga about raising children with spiritual values, the habit of going to church, mm-hmm. And very important to Ryan, not so much to Clara, as in, I don't want my kids to feel forced. Yeah. To go to church.
And I can definitely understand that.
Clara's mom gave him some hope.
Yeah, due to the fact that she was not a churchgoer before having Clara. But when she did, she felt she needed some reinforcement. And understandably so, because during the time that they visited, and again, it's a show, limited time, all of that. Mm-hmm. Whatever time frame there was with the parents, Dad said
0.
Nothing.
Dad said nothing. But Clara's mom did say that she thinks that a spiritual foundation will become more important to Clara when kids come.
Yeah.
So. And it's important that parents are on the same page when it comes to how you're going to raise your kids. So,
well, the home needs to be on the same page. I mean, a divided home is not a home.
Right. You must parent your children together, which is a tip. We've always got to mention our book, Becoming a Professional Lover. That it's important that you parent your children together. You've got to be unified. Mm-hmm. You've got to be on the same page. And so right now, they're not. But I think Ryan's just trying to wait and see and cross that bridge when they come to that bridge. Yeah. But it's definitely something they got to be talking out.
True.
The last couple has gotten more and more painful to watch as the weeks go by. That's Haley and Jacob. Mm. And this week's big disagreement was the bracelet.
Yeah.
And once again, when Haley was called onto the carpet by Dr. Pepper for her attitude about the bracelet that Jacob had given to her as a gift on their wedding day,
before
even meeting
marriage.
her, and the way she just kind of trivialized it, watered it down, dismissed it because of the problems that they've been having. It seemed like she was clueless of her response.
Well, she's never been given clues on how to.
But on how to what?
Well, be receptive or
empathetic.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect word.
Empathetic.
Because that we found was a trained reality.
Because when she described herself as a child and how she didn't do
what she didn't want
anything
to do.
she didn't want to do, no matter who was asking her to do it, mom, dad, whoever.
At the age of 4.
Then that shows you kind of a characteristic that has either gone unchecked or
permitted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gone unchecked, or or over just ignored.
In some instances, I'm even thinking it might have been reinforced.
Because Mama sure reinforced her feelings about the bracelet.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Now, I found it interesting that in past episodes, in past seasons, whenever the one has sort of kind of complained to a friend or a family member or whoever about what the other one's not doing, whatever, that other person has tended to say, well, hey, give it some time.
Right. Be a little
make
balanced.
sure that you're doing this. Make sure, Mom didn't do none of that.
Like,
so, Mom was only, first of all, hearing one side.
True.
Okay. And Mom just reinforced the unkind, unempathetic attitude of her daughter.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate because, again, going into a situation like this, I would think that you would be considerate of the other person that you're about to embark a potential lifelong relationship with, and that you would take them into consideration to the best of your ability. Somebody gives you a gift. I don't care if it was a rusted penny. It still needs to be with you.
But it never crossed my mind.
So my gift to you,
which was somewhere between $300 and $800. We heard
whatever
a couple
it
of
was,
figures, but it was not cheap.
It never crossed your mind?
It never crossed my mind.
I would think, just like Jake thinks, then I don't matter to you, really. Because, again, what I've tried to do for you, and again, it's not that she hasn't tried to do things for him, but it seems like her attitude, her mentality is very one-sided.
Well, I also said last night that I thought that the relationship she was in before she was single for 7 years, where she described it as very controlling, has kind of made her swing to, the opposite extreme, where I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. And so there seems to be no middle ground for her. No. And I think that whole bracelet thing, because this is the first time it all came out, but it started at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Last time was the first time I heard anything about the bracelet.
I remember hearing something
about the bracelet earlier. Yeah. Well, it came, it came to a head last night, and it appears that the whole bracelet incident is what Jacob uses to gauge her interest in him. Yeah. If you can't think about the fact that I gave you a present, first of all, that you thought was a necklace, you didn't even take it out the box,
right,
to see that it was a bracelet,
yeah,
and that you could have worn it at your wedding, and then you put it with the rest of your stuff that you gave to your mom, and it went to Alabama, and then you care nothing about getting it. The whole thing, when Dr. Pepper said he's hurt, and the fact that you don't care is concerning.
That's alarming.
And her response was to get ready for the waterworks like we had last week.
Yeah.
When Pastor Cal called her on the carpet about the fact that she has done very little to change for Jake the way Jacob has been doing for her.
Yeah.
And so she
again,
refuses to take accountability for her own issues.
I mean, there's no mention of an apology for not understanding the value in which, I mean, again, you're trying to get to know somebody, understand what it is that their likes, their dislikes, their value system, and it's not the fact that, I don't believe in Jake's situation it was the dollar figure at all.
No.
I think he just has his little cryptic way of communicating with words. But
and a little passive aggressive.
The gesture spoke volumes.
Yeah.
I mean, he bought her a gift to actually bring to the altar with her. But
and other couples have done that.
Yeah.
And they've, and they've acknowledged the gift. They've worn the gift. They've acknowledged the gift. You see our lights just blinked off. That's a little scary.
Maybe they didn't acknowledge the gift.
But anyway, so they've just gotten, that relationship is, to me, just pretty much dead.
Oh, definitely.
In the water.
Definitely.
And I don't see that coming back. And so that's kind of what makes it a little painful to watch. Yeah. They tried to have fun. Haley was great as long as she was winning. When she wasn't winning in putt-putt, then we got an attitude.
Crickets.
Yeah. So, it's, their relationship is painful. Yeah. So, but we've got to watch it a few more weeks until it ends the way we think it's going to end, which is they won't be going on. That's our best guess. So.
Yeah. And guess what we didn't talk about this week? We ain't talking about it.
On that note.
Yes.
I'm glad we're not talking about it. On that note, a little shorter this week. Not much to expound on.
We're not talking about
because
it.
We've only got 4 couples.
Yes.
So we hope that you enjoyed our discussion. Leave your comments. We respond back even though it's not always right away. Like never right away. But anyway, we do respond. Like us, share us, and we look forward to seeing you back here next week. Until then, be safe. Peace.
Enjoy.